Shemai, Sitari, Croeso, Chris, Dewey. What is cracking, ladies, gents, boys, girls, anybody who is anybody? Today I have for you a cheeky Dead by Daylight video. Now, Dead by Daylight, it is one of my favorite games. I love playing Dead by Daylight, whether it's Survivor, whether it's Killer, I don't particularly mind. Right now, I'm playing Survivor a lot more because, generally speaking, I've played so much Killer. It's a nice change of pace. But I want to ask you, the viewer, a question. Do we need a dedicated PvAI game mode in Dead by Daylight? And before you answer that question and scream your answer from the rooftops, what I'm gonna say is feel free to like and subscribe. I really want to do more Dead by Daylight videos. I want to do maybe perk builds. I'm not gonna be as godlike as some of the YouTubers here because my goodness, they are insane. But you know, I'm hoping to just be a bit fun. And that's all that matters. Fun is something that's important. Dead by Daylight, you gotta have fun. So, with that out of the way, let's answer the question. And you may be saying to yourself, well, don't we have those game modes in the tutorial? Survive with bots, kill your bots. And the answer is we do. But in my opinion, as these modes do not allow for perks and you cannot change your killer, I think that they're outdated and they don't really provide a new player with a real experience of Dead by Daylight, especially with the new perks that are coming out. For instance, we now have boons, and I think that adding perks, adding different killers, different survivors to these game modes would not only change the tutorial mode, but could do the game a lot of good. So I'm going to jump into a Survive with Bots game to hopefully show you guys my point. Now we're playing Ironworks of Misery. This is the basic tutorial map. You're not going to play a different map. Now, your early game, generally speaking, will vary from player to player. I personally like to find out what killer I'm playing against. Now, because this is a tutorial, I don't have to worry about seeing if there's any fountains, any zombies, any jigsaw boxes. I know I'm up against a trapper, so I just beeline to a generator. And the generator's safe because the killer doesn't have perks. There aren't any corrupt interventions going on to block them off. Now, the killer does make a beeline to me, and he gets to jump on me because if I had spine gel, I'd be able to detect it a lot earlier. But I don't play with headphones in when I'm recording. Don't know why. So I'm just looping the killer for everything he's worth. Now, if the killer did have maybe bamboozle, I wouldn't be allowed to abuse this window as much as I am. Furthermore, if I had maybe speed burst, sprint burst, I still can't remember the name, I'd maybe be able to move to a different area or at least another jungle gym to extend the chase if the killer wasn't a massive box. And I get hit here. I don't know if it's a legit hit, let's be real. But I get hit nevertheless. But I keep going because, you know, there's no pressure from the bot. There are no mind games. The bot is simply following me and doing a quick attack. He's not even hitting me. He's not close enough to hit me. He's trying his luck, and gens are being smashed out. Now, playing against another player, or at least a different killer, this chase would have gone a lot differently. Maybe a death slinger could have ended that loop-in a lot quicker. So, here we are. I'm just vibing, just trying to figure out what to do next. Now, if I had perks, maybe if I could put down a juicy little boon, or if I had self-care, I could have patched myself up, but no. And the killer, spoilers, is gonna beeline towards me again. And you might say, well, that's a bit like playing against someone with barbecue and chili. It's not, because I think that the AI, the killer AI in particular, just picks a player at random and then beelines to them, so you can't hide from the killer, which takes away from the authentic experience of mind gaming the killer. I love personally looping them and then hiding in the corner and watching them run past and then doing a run in a different direction. But yeah, this looping is going to go on and on and on. It's like purgatory. You don't escape. Well, escape the killer, but it takes forever. Now, the real point that I want to make with all this looping is that if we were playing a dedicated PvAI game mode against a bot killer that had perks, that had the potential to be a different killer with different base kits, I probably would not have been able to loop that killer for as long as I did, especially if they were playing with maybe bamboozle, if it was a death slinger, maybe even a huntress, I would have been hit. Anyone with a ranged attack, because for the most part, I was just running in a straight line. The killer had a perfect view of me. If they were a ranged killer, I would have been screwed. So now I'm just going to run around trying to figure out what to do, because without any sort of perks it's difficult to gather information. Say I had Spine Chill again, this is my favourite crutch perk, I would have been able to realise that the killer wasn't looking at me and that they were chasing somebody else, which would have meant that I could have spent my time a little bit more wisely. And this is the thing, if we had perks, if we had a dedicated PvAI game mode with perks, with different characters, with everything in it, it would allow newer players especially to get a feel for the game and how certain perks work. Even if not newer players, it would allow maybe more experienced players to try out different perks, different skill sets, to figure out new strategies and ways to play, which I think would be quite interesting and could do a whole lot of good for the community at large. So I'm going to bring us back to the campfire just to ask my question again, and the question was, do we need a PvAI game mode? And I mean, literally we have one in the tutorial mode, but I think if they expanded upon and developed the tutorial mode a lot more to the point where it was its own game mode where you could choose different characters and different perks, I think it could do the game a whole lot of good. Furthermore, I feel as if a dedicated PvAI game mode where you have your perks, where you have access to different killers and their base kit, I feel as if this dedicated PvAI game mode could help with reducing the toxicity that the community experiences on a regular basis. From what I can gather, every single toxic killer I've encountered has generally just been a newer player who doesn't quite understand their powers. So yeah, they are face camping, they are tunneling, because they know that if they maybe go for somebody else or leave the hook, that you'll get pulled off the hook and they might not even get a hook that game. It's just new players having to resort to very, very safe tactics that the community perceives as being toxic. Then on the flip side, if a survivor is face camped and tunneled out of a game, then they're going to be very annoyed. They're going to go into the next game hoping to take out their frustrations on whatever poor sod they're playing up against. So whether it's another new killer who's just getting bullied with flashlights, body blocks and all that good stuff, or if they're just a fairly experienced killer not expecting a toxic game. And you can see where this is going. Toxicity creates toxicity, and I'm not saying it starts off with new killers in particular, but I'm saying that a lot of toxicity, I can only imagine, starts off with players making mistakes because they don't fully understand what they're bringing to the game. Either that or their streamers doing it for views. So to answer my own question, I do feel as if we could do with a PvAI game mode, a truly dedicated PvAI game mode where players can pick their perks, pick their characters and go up against bots. Because as it stands, the tutorial mode doesn't quite deliver. And yeah, it does introduce you to the base mechanics of the game. It shows you how to hook people, it shows you how to unhook people, it shows you how to heal, how to attack, how to run, how to loop. But it doesn't provide a genuine experience. It doesn't show you how to mind game. It doesn't show you the intricacies of different perks and how different loadouts can change the dynamics of a game. And I think a dedicated PvAI game mode would be able to do that. Even just adding a simple stealth mechanic to the survival bots game mode could actually help a lot with the tutorial, because then you wouldn't be getting beelined from one side of the map to the other. The killer wouldn't be looking at you through walls, through rocks, through buildings. If there was a simple stealth mechanic, it could at least introduce new survivors into the world of mind gaming, where you can run around a corner and then duck beside a locker, and then the killer might walk past you, they might catch you. It'll add an extra layer of fun. So I asked, do we need a dedicated PvAI game mode? And to answer my own question, maybe we don't need it, but it would definitely be good. It would be a quality of life update in my opinion, because although it's not going to be a direct counter to toxicity, it's going to help alleviate some of the causes that lead to a player being toxic, in my own opinion. Furthermore, it would allow for a player to practice different perks, different playstyles, different anything. Maybe it's just looping. Maybe if you could select the map, it will help players learn the map a little bit better, which will help newer or returning players. So I suppose that's where I stand. I think that yeah, we could really do with a game mode that lets us practice with different perks, which lets us maybe learn the maps, which lets us maybe try out different killers' base kits, so that we're not running into games not truly understanding what we have. And yeah, it is a baptism by fire kind of mechanic. What is it? A mechanic? It's a system where you are just going to have to learn the hard way, but I think if we were allowed to learn an easier way, it would benefit the community as a whole. Now, as this is my first time actually engaging with the Dead by Daylight community, I want to add a controversial opinion. And I say controversial, it's not going to get me fired, but it is a bit oof. I reckon with the Demogorgon's removal, they should allow for a spider killer to take place. They can use the same rig, they can use the same mechanics, they can use the same holes, just digging tunnels under the map, covering with webs, you know, similar effects. They got the pounce, even the Mori could be reworked to have the spider's mandibles opening and closing around the survivor's head. I think it would just make sense, but tell me what you think about that. So I suppose that's it, guys and girls, ladies and gents. If you've actually watched this far, I want to say thank you. This is my first Dead by Daylight video, and yeah, it's an opinion piece, but I can record plenty of gameplay. I want to start making gameplay for Dead by Daylight videos. I love them. I love the game. It's one of my favorite games, and one of the boys in work kept nagging me to do this video because I said I would about 2 months ago, and then I lost all my footage. So yeah, if you watched this far, I want to say thank you, guys. I want to say feel free to like and comment. I'm not going to tell you to subscribe. I think if you want to subscribe you can, but I'm not going to try and pressure you. And yeah, hopefully if this video does decent, I'll start doing Dead by Daylight videos alongside all the bug stuff, because generally speaking there's only so much I can read. So yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you have a lovely life, hopefully you have a lovely day. Take care, look after yourselves, bye bye.